We have a really good prop today in MLB for PrizePicks. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so looking at the board for today, we are getting one really good prop as it sits right now for MLB, and that's going to be the one I start out with. From there, NHL-wise, we're not getting anything. We only have goals and hits thus far, and NBA, it's too far away for me to feel comfortable giving advice on it. I will say, like Claxton, if he's going to get more minutes, Dinwiddie, if he's going to, if they still get 36 or so minutes, those are all too cheap as well. But to me, that's a little bit too far out to really feel comfortable giving advice on. So we're just going to stick to MLB today. So a lot of the times people ask me, like, hey, how do you feel about these bets that are pushed? And then I'll typically say I'm fine with it, especially if you are pairing it with a bet that you think is going to hit. Chris Bassett gets a really good matchup today going against Detroit. Detroit gives up the second most strikeouts per game. Now, Bassett has struggled recently, in the debut against St. Louis, not great, and against the Angels, 5 strikeouts, so that would have been a push. And if we look at his game log, we can just see the first game just didn't have his stuff, didn't pitch that many innings, okay, just got tore up. So if he gets 6 or 5 innings or so, he should be able to get there, at least for a push. Now, why do I like this bet? Well, let's go ahead and pull it up on the 9 to 5 PrizePicks cheat sheet. Now, this is still located here. I'm going to have to adjust this. I think that's in my plans for today, tomorrow, and the weekend is kind of update the NBA DFS tab to maybe other. So that includes MLB, NHL, PrizePicks prop board. So to get there, we click on this little icon. And now you guys will see a bunch of updates that I did yesterday. And that's why I didn't do a video. I was working on these updates. So included in here, we got some projections for the props to compare them against like we would for NBA. We also have the over percent. This is going to be without the juice, without the sportsbook juice. And then if the lines don't match up, then we also have this calculation as well. So let's just sort by this real quick. And just a fair warning, like for these props that are like 0.5 for like total bases or like maybe block shots in the NBA, it's a little bit skewed because it's 0.5. That's kind of the biggest issue with that. Just as an FYI, I just want to make that clear. So looking at it right now, we take the juice out of Bassett, the best out of that prop. He has about a 58% chance to hit. And so I was looking at, we only get 2 odds right now going into this line. There's going to be one from FanDuel and one from DraftKings. DraftKings has it set at minus 205 to get over 4.5. So they are valuing it as a push. We can see that. We look at his projection, projected to get 5.68. So obviously we need one more there. And then FanDuel actually has the line set at minus 122, but at 5.5 strikeouts. So it is a good prop on paper. It's the best one that we are getting currently. Now, this one is also interesting to me. I think it'll be a push going against Baltimore, who gives up the 4th most strikeout thus far this season. Strangely enough, and it's a very small sample size, obviously, but they only give up 8.3 strikeouts per game compared to about 2 more for away games. So home games, they strike out a little bit less, which is just strange. And then just as an FYI as well, 5th most strikeouts given up is Philly. And so this one's not a terrible one as well. But these 2 that I just mentioned are both pushes. I actually feel much better about Chris's ability to get the over there, or at least a favorable push. So let's look at some other props that we can pair with this. So guys, I have noticed that, and I think it's just due to not having a big knowledge of MLB, just the basic consumer knowledge for MLB. Whereas NBA, like I can apply the data and then apply like the NBA DFS knowledge that I have to see if a prop is actually a true prop. For me, I've mostly just been going off of the odds. And so they have been hitting much more close to the expected percentage, which is about, typically speaking, I would do a prop that's about 54 or better percent likely to hit. And that's been true. Whereas NBA, it's been much higher than that. And I shouldn't say much higher than that, but higher than that. Thus, you're cashing a little bit more on those 2-leg bet because you can see which ones are good bets or not. So for me, my strategy right now is literally just to bet the best bets that we are getting. So this would be one of the ones that we are getting. And I don't really love hits, runs, RBIs, props, honestly. Just not one of my favorite props, but this is the one that we're getting, about a 54.5% chance to hit at minus 140. That's the best one that we're getting. So you could pair it with that. And then let's just look at some other props that we are getting. So once again, I do not like the total base props that much. Like here's an interesting one. Let's look at this. So the sports books are basically saying some of them have it valued higher. And that's the thing with MLB. Maybe besides golf, MLB's projections and stuff are the most different for each sports book. And really, like if you look at DFS companies, for most DFS companies, whereas NBA, NFL, the top plays are pretty much easy to see and they hit as expected more likely. That's not the case with MLB. And so personally, I hate betting these total base props. Yes, we're betting on a hit, but it's not one that I particularly love. For me, I want to be betting on these ones where the prop line is a little bit different, but also it's favored much more as a push across the sportsbook. So like this would be one that I would like more, and we can see it's projected to get 1.35 hits. That's great. I like VoIP as well. You know, his over and under is set at as a push, but that's at 0.83. So one of the sportsbooks are favoring the over slightly more. And so that's another favorable prop that we are getting. But I just want to make that clear. That's kind of the issue with those total base props that are coming in at 0.5. The calculation for the over doesn't work as much as you would want it. But I mean, that's it. Like we can pair those together with that and just hope that, you know, use this one with Bassett, hope it hits. You know, really we would just be betting for these and hoping that 2 out of the 4 hit. Then it's going to be profit. And yeah, no NHL props just yet. And just real quick, if you guys wanted to pair it with a PGA prop, I don't love any of these just yet. The course is playing, you know, I would say about as expected, but 4.5 birdies does seem to be a lot, although I trust that. But let's just call this out. Like Cameron Young projected to get the most birdies or better. Look at his birdie or better matchup though. And Cameron Young was one of the best plays this week for the RBC Heritage. He gets a matchup with Davis Riley. So if they're projecting him to get the most birdies or better, then you would expect him to be able to get the over here. So I would be fine betting that one there. Okay, that seems like a good bet. That's probably my favorite bet to pair with that. So this would be my bet of the day. You know, just taking the favorable odds with this one here. And then more times than not, Cameron Young is going to be able to beat Davis Riley and birdie or better, especially this week where he ranks out as a much better play. That's the biggest discrepancy that we have there. Now, if you guys are 9 to 5 members, just make sure to check this prop before placing it because, you know, odds do adjust throughout the day and we are pulling in about 7 to 8 different sportsbook odds for each prop. Right now, we are only getting FanDuel and DK for that. Okay. So as the day progresses, obviously we'll get more and more in there and that could adjust this prop. And it's afternoon games, so be careful. And it is, if you guys are interested, it's $10 a month to get access to that PrizePicks cheat sheet, as well as the premium fantasy golf membership. Try to price it as low as possible for you guys. I just hate the fact that, you know, companies charge too much for information like that. But that's all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.